Welcome to Who's Who of Asian Americans in Houston. I'm your host, Jimmy Ma. It's my pleasure today to have Professor MD Cathy Yao with us today.
Hi, Jimmy. How are you?
Good. Cathy, it's amazing what you've done in your time here in Texas. You are essentially a native Texan now. You've been in Texas for 30 years. You have
Almost.
a Texas drawl. It was amazing because you are a professor in multiple departments at Baylor Medicine.
Baylor College of Medicine.
Baylor College of Medicine.
Yeah. So I work in several departments. My major department is the DeBakey Department of Surgery. And I also have an adjunct professor in the Microbiology and the Virology department, Immunology department, and the Pharmacology department.
And your research that you do is truly cutting edge. Not a lot. I don't believe anyone else could, get to where you are today. Could you tell our audience a little bit what exactly is it that you're doing research on?
Yeah. So my research involves in two aspects. One is HIV vaccine development, and the other one is pancreatic cancer pathogenesis and therapy. Try to develop the treatment for pancreatic cancer.
And these are both diseases that does not have a cure yet.
Right, yeah, so both difficult diseases that I picked. I'm hoping that through our effort and everything, we can have some, for HIV, have HIV vaccine, and for pancreatic cancer, we have some therapy, some effective therapy.
Well, so far. Due to your efforts, we already made a lot of bounds and leaps in the past 20 years. Compared to before. And do we see a light at the end of the tunnel?
Yeah, of course. We always see,
hope.
Yeah, always. I'm like a positive person. So, when I get into the field, we know it's very difficult for both are very difficult. So many research have already been done and not much of a breakthrough, say for HIV vaccine. We do see, promising vaccine study from Thailand. So that was the RV144 trial that shows some vaccine efficacies. So we needed to get more, study to get more effective vaccines. So we do have some, hope there for HIV vaccine. For pancreatic cancer, over the past several decades, there's not much of the improvement, not many of the effective therapies at all. So that's why we wanted to, put more effort on that. So one of the aspects that I'm studying is looking at the pathogenesis, looking at what molecules or genes really contribute to the pancreatic cancer pathogenesis, and then we can develop the method for the treatment.
Your research is state funded.
Yeah, it's a National Institute of Health, so NIH, NCI Institute fund for the pancreatic cancer therapy. Our studies like introduce microRNA in vivo for the treatment of pancreatic cancer.
That shows the importance of your research because it will benefit all of humankind. Being a Houstonian, we're very proud to have you in our community and to be able to contribute and spread this to help educate the next generation too. I'm sure you have a lot of students all over the world right now.
Yeah, so I have several students back in China as a professor, carry on the studies that we're all interested in, and in Hong Kong, and somewhere in different states like Florida, and one is actually in Puerto Rico, is established a company, biotech company, and using our technology try to develop the therapeutic strategies for pancreatic cancer.
That's wonderful to hear, to be able to continue this.
Right.
Speaking of China, you came here from China as a grad student. It was an amazing journey to start there and to end up here. I want to hear about your amazing journey.
Yeah, that was I think that's pretty brave act. I never left home. I was born in Nanjing, and my college and everything are all in Nanjing. And all of a sudden, I had to travel all by myself to somewhere I don't know. But I had to believe that because I learned the biology, right, the microbiology, and one of the techniques that available in here but not in China at that time. That's my motive to come over, to finish my graduate study in China. That's very brave. I didn't know. That was like never thought about what's going to happen. So it was really lucky that I got the visa. Without, New Mexico State University accepted me, but they didn't have any funding for me. So obviously financial is like a big problem for me. I don't have, my parents couldn't give me much money to come here either. But, I just came.
I never heard of that, being able to, as an international student, to come to the States, especially in the 80s, without a scholarship or without a TA position. I never heard of that.
Yeah, so I didn't even know how I got the visa at the first place. So then, the interesting thing is, the finance is always a problem. I tried to looking for any possible scholarship. So it happened to be my cousin was in El Paso, and then he took me to different departments, like a biology department, chemistry department, to looking for, is there any position opening there? So I talked to the biology department, graduate school, graduate program director, and he thought, yes, you can be a good TA for, it's just like a biology 101 lab, so we get to teach, you need to teach the lab and tell them what to do, how to perform the experiment and everything, grade them, give them the thing.
This is before you even attended a single day of school here in the United States.
No, yeah.
So it was very fortunate, but also you worked hard for it.
Very challenging. I was like really scared of that, to be able to come over to teach in front of like 50 students,
In a second language too.
Yeah,
I mean,
second language.
This is amazing. But obviously you did well, and because from there on it was just unexpected pit stops, and you just kept going.
Right. So I guess this experience, I guess, it really made a lot of,
it gave you new challenges, but you accepted it, and you have a thirst for knowledge. You wanted to know more, and you wanted to achieve more.
Right.
Like you said, you could have, after your graduate studies in El Paso, you graduated, you got your master's, your graduate degree, and you worked for a
company. I worked for Becton Dickinson, a pretty big company. So I could have just,
it's a good career.
I bought a new car, at that time I graduated, bought a new car, and, everybody in the school are like really admire, you already got a job and everything. But then, I have to thank for several persons in my life that like the turning point
that
guided me through to move forward. So my parents came over to visit me at that time.
After you graduated and you were already working?
Yeah, I already working. So my parents visited me, and then saw through all my in the daily life, just working in a company, working on the project, and then if the company is not interested in this project, then you have to move to another project. And sometimes I'm pretty frustrated about something that you have a passion on, and then you have to stop. So, and then my dad is the person that guided me and saying that you should have, go to a PhD, got higher education. You need, 20th century is the biotechnology century. You came over to the fulfill American dream is to learn and establish your own career. So I then quit the job. That was like a really brave act. Everybody was like, admire your job, and then all of a sudden you quit the job.
It's secure, you have a good income. Why would you give that up after all those years of schooling to go somewhere where it's unknown?
So
you're taking on a challenge that you don't know where it's going to end.
Yeah. So, I mean, people were saying, like, if you have a master's degree, it's easier to find a job. If you have a PhD, it's hard to find a job.
Because you'll end up doing research, laboratory work. You don't know, because a lot of times getting grants, getting tenure, you don't know if it'll work out.
Yeah. So a lot of unknowns. But, my dad insisted, I was born in a family that believed that knowledge is the key. You have to study, and you have to do your best and to be the best. Try to be the best.
Your father was also a scholar, and that's somebody that you especially wanted to mention, to thank him for getting to challenge you, to challenge yourself.
Yeah. So my dad, actually, I think he's a genius. He graduated from college when he was 15, and he did so many act or foreseeing a lot of things that happened later on, but he
had the foresight to be able to to guide you to know this is where the trend will be.
Right. Yeah.
Your story is amazing, because from El Paso you ended up somewhere else, and then from there you ended up in Houston. We're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue to hear Cathy's amazing journey and how she ended up at Baylor College of Medicine. Welcome back to Who's Who of Asian American in Houston. I'm your host, Jimmy Ma. We have MD, PhD, Professor Cathy Yao with us today, and we were talking about your amazing journey of coming from China, ending up in El Paso, and finally here in Houston. We talked about earlier about your father's guidance and to challenge you to your next stop.
Right.
Where did you go?
Yeah, so I applied the PhD program at Emory University. So here I wanted to thank my mentor, PhD mentor, Dr. Richard Compens, and he guided me through all the way and encouraged me, giving me a lot of faith and for the scientific research. So at that time I was involved in influenza virus research, and he was one of the prominent influenza virus researchers in the world. So he gave me a lot of opportunities, to study the mechanisms and everything, and also talking to the person, the colleagues around the nation and the world, and send me to the meetings and give the presentation and everything, where I found that's very fun for the medical research field. You get to study, you always study, and then find an idea, hypothesis, and then you use the experiment to prove whether it's true or not, and if it's not, and to find an alternative way to solve the problem. So the whole process, I find is very interesting, because I always curious. This is, put in that word, curious about a lot of things, and we wanted to find something. Why this, why that, why virus infect, the respiratory tract, and why human, not pig, and all these kind of detailed things. And so he gave me lots of opportunities. After I graduate, at the graduate, in my thesis defense, and he introduced to the audience. That's a very funny thing. Is like he said, Cathy is very productive, because I had 2 kids when I was a PhD. So 2 kids, and then 3 first author publications, and then I graduated in 3.5 years to get my PhD. So I was thankful to him, his guidance, and then of course my effort. I worked very hard at that time.
Well, you love what you do, and you have that thirst for knowledge, and that really helped you. There's the same thing you would tell the kids. You would tell kids that want to get into the medical field, that wants to be MDs. You would tell them the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
Which is to be passionate.
Be passionate. That's the key thing. You don't afraid of being failure, because a lot of experiments are not as what you thought about, and you have to solve the problem. You have to learn from the failure.
And most laboratory or empirical research actually fails. Most of them,
right.
There's no success.
Most of them are, and then you have to fine tune the conditions and everything, to learn from the mistakes. That's the thing. And also you have to read the papers all the time. Read and write.
Newspaper.
Not newspaper. Read the scientific publications all the time.
Because you have to keep up with the community to know what is cutting edge, what is new, and the research you do is beneficial because somebody else might be doing it already, so you need to collaborate.
Yes. So we have to know what's already been done and what's the novel ideas of yours. and what can you contribute to the field? What's the significance of your study?
Cathy, this is interesting because you talked about influenza research in Atlanta.
Right.
Their CDC is based in Atlanta.
Yes.
So was there collaboration between
Yes.
Emory and that's...
Yeah, so I did my rotations through the CDC.
Wow.
So one of the rotations working in the influenza lab. Yeah. And
see, that just sounds amazing, and that sounds fun, because when you think of CDC, I mean, that is the leading center for disease control.
Right.
Pop culture and myth, there's a lot of things related to that.
Yes.
Emory College itself is a great school.
Yes.
And for you to be able to get there, and you mentioned how fortunate you are to have a great mentor.
Right.
But for a lot of our younger students that want to get into the field, they have to understand to find a great mentor, they have to provide. You will find a good mentor if you could prove and provide your passion. They will see that.
Yes. So that's very important. Even now, when I have my student and everything, is like if you make your effort, people will see it, right? If you don't make effort, then you're not going to be good in any field, not just this field, any field. So always work hard. That's the key thing.
We always tell the next generation to work hard, to be passionate. But you truly have to have that thirst for knowledge to keep going.
Right. You have to
accept
be
failure.
like a positive person.
You have to accept failure and then keep going.
Keep going. The persistence wins the game. That's
there you go.
Always.
Did you hear that? Persistence wins the game.
Yeah, that's how I did a lot of things. It's not an easy journey.
No, it's not.
A lot of things going on, for the funding, publication, and everything. You have to fight for it. You have to be like a really strong and stand on your, your belief and your results and everything to get the publication, and then your idea, your innovative idea, to show to your peer reviewers, and then they believe that your grant is good, so then they can give you the funding for that.
It's not just what research you do, your laboratory results. You can sit there and slave away for years, but if you can't get grants, you cannot get funding, you can't present it the right way, then it does it as offer or not.
Then it's no.
Yes, so it's a combination of many things.
You have to constantly, produce good results and to publish, so people knows what you're doing. And then at the meantime, you need to apply for grants to support your study. So it's all together. You can't stop in either way. If you don't publish, then you can't get grant. If you can't get grant, you cannot persist. You're not there anymore.
I mean, when you're going through this process, not like you stopped and never looked up and say, hey, I'm here. No, you just kept working. You put your head down. You just kept going.
That's one of the things that my dad taught me. That's another thing, is like you just keep working.
Keep plugging away.
Yeah, don't think about what's going on. You just keep working. In Chinese, I don't know, we can say in Chinese, it's like 只管耕耘不问收获. You sow first. You don't care about reaping yet. Right. Yeah.
You want to plant the seed first. You don't care if it grows, but you're going to keep planting.
Keep planting and keep working on that to be the best, or get the best result out of that.
And obviously, you fulfilled your father's wishes, because you are the best at what you do right now.
Thank you.
What you bring to the table, what you bring for Houston itself is like we said earlier, is cutting edge research that cures diseases that do not have a cure. You're looking for a cure.
Right.
And this is not just some research that benefits a school or personal reasons. This benefits all of humankind.
Right.
Now, going back to Atlanta from Emory, you were there for over a decade?
Yes. So I got my PhD there, and through 1 year of postdoc, and then that's thankful to my mentor, Dr. Compens, and allow me to write the first HIV R21 grant. That was back in 1997. So I wrote that grant, and I got it. So then I got promoted to assistant professor.
That's very rare. I think it's unheard of to be a postdoc student to write a grant, dissertation, and to get a grant out of it immediately out of school.
Right. Yeah. So it's very, very rare. It's not my dissertation. My dissertation is on parainfluenza virus. So it's like a new HIV vaccine study that I, when I was a postdoc, and working on that postdoc research. And then Dr. Compens allowed me to write that up, and to be able to get the grant to fund, to get a little lab so that we can, get that going, get the lab going, so that my faculty career, starts
Continued.
from.
That's where it blossomed from there.
Right. Yeah.
So what brought you to Houston, to Baylor College of Medicine?
Yeah. So I was pretty good there.
Emory,
at that time,
yeah.
Emory is a very good, pretty city, and I attend a lot of good activities, Asian activities there also. But my husband's group were recruited to Baylor College of Medicine. So he's also a medical research successful one also. So the whole group came down to Houston. So then we visited Houston several times. Although the city is not as pretty as Atlanta, the Chinese community is like really amazing here.
We're one of the most diverse cities in the South. We're proud of that. And Houston, we would like to think Houston is pretty at the right time, but we have much more opportunity.
Right. Yeah, especially the Asian, community. There are lots of things.
Very vibrant.
Yeah, like I really like, so many different activities, and then for kids' education, kids to learn ballet and learn violin and all, name it. You can find the best teachers, those accomplished person from China that came over here to.
Yeah,
to
because you're actually well known in the Houston Asian community, not for your research efforts. You're well known because of your extracurriculars, we call it. You're an accomplished singer. You actually are a good dancer. You participated in flash mobs with your 85-year-old mother. That is amazing. That sounds fun. I mean, you have an active life outside of the lab, which is important for your sanity and for your health.
Right. Yeah.
And you're passionate about everything you do.
That's right. So sometimes I worry about I have too many interests. I wanted to pursue. I wanted to do good on anything that I picked. So I picked some of the things that when I was a child, I don't have time to work on, and now I wanted to be better, to improve myself. So that's how I get to pick those hobbies to work on.
So you want to impart some wisdom to the kids and to the next generation that wants to get there. You would say, work hard, be passionate, also have a wide variety of interests outside of work. Mm-hmm. I remember you had a wonderful performance at the Houston Lunar Gala that night.
Right.
You were in front of probably a few thousand people singing a professional quality song and dance number.
Thank you.
I'm sure that we will see you more often in the community. I hope that you could continue passing on your knowledge and our heritage to this great city. You're now a Houstonian.
Yeah.
And you will be here to stay, and we really are lucky to have you in our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yao. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for tuning in to Who's Who of Asian Americans in Houston. Don't forget to watch our show again. Have a good night.